Nobody?
Correct.
Your technology, maybe?
It's outdoor rec.
Yeah, it is outdoor rec, right? And so like these are not insignificant career fields, right? Real estate, computer technology, education, oil and gas, like these are all like big fields, right? And outdoor recreation is one of the largest, right? And so if you look, this is from the Bureau of Economic Analysis. This is not like some like, like um Reddit post that I pulled some information off of, right? Like this is like an actual government agency that is looking at like employment in different sectors. Outdoor recreation makes up a huge number of jobs, right? Um, so much so that like uh we make up $887 billion dollars annually in spending in the United States, right? That's 65 billion with a B federal revenue and tax dollars, 60 billion dollars for state and local revenue. Like again, these are like huge industries, right? By state, you can look at like specific states and how much of their gross domestic product comes from like recreation, right? And by state, some places have a lot of recreation, like places like Montana, 5% of like their GDP is from recreation. People going to Montana to go fly fishing and go hiking and go horseback riding and all of those things, right? And so when people ask me now, like, what do you do for a job? I say I'm an outdoor professional, right? And they look at me like I am crazy, right? Because like that doesn't like most people don't even know that exists, and that's a career field. But I've been doing this for 25 years. I have, I think a pretty solid career, and I'm able to train a lot of other people. And people who come out of this program have been able to go and work in fields related to this, whether it be in STEM fields, whether it be in recreation, whether it be in land management and public policy. There's a lot of different areas that people have been able to work in this recreation field. And so you're probably asking, like, why am I talking about all this stuff related to the outdoor program? And because a lot of people get their start working in those fields through the OAP, right? The OAP has been around since 1982, and our kind of mantra is we've been building leaders of community through the outdoors since 1982, right? And so for about 43 years, the outdoor program's been here. The four main components of it: we have a team building program, we have a climbing wall, we have an outdoor trips program, and then we have our academic classes. And I'll talk about each one of those. If you're looking at our numbers, this is sort of like how that all shakes out, like how many people we serve in a given year. So I have like actual offerings as well as number of activities offered. Some of these are a little bit dated. This is a couple years ago. But you can kind of see like we serve a lot of students, and a lot of different people are interacting in our programs in a lot of different ways. You'll also notice here I have contact hours, and that's like how many hours we spend in the field with a like per person, right? And so things like classes have a lot of contact hours because I'm spending a lot of time individually with people. Our trips have a lot of contact hours, and like we don't have as many contact hours in, say, the climbing wall because it's pretty short periods. So grand total, this is sort of like where we ended up last year. And I think one of the big things to notice is that we had almost 12,000 participations at the OAP, right? And so that's roughly about a third of VCU students, right? And so a lot of people at VCU are engaging in what we do. And ultimately, the vast majority of these programs are student led. So we have student trip leaders, people working in the climbing wall are students, people facilitating programs are students. And so we're training folks to be able to go out and do all of these things and build skills and build competencies in the outdoors so that they can take those skills and apply them in the future to whatever they're interested in. We're really fortunate because we have this really amazing backyard to work in. Richmond is super lucky to have the James River flowing right through the middle of it, and that gives us access to a lot of really cool things, right? We have great mountain bike trails, we have great climbing here in town. Obviously, the river has tons of opportunities for paddling, whether that's whitewater or flat water. We work with a lot of nonprofits to help do trail work, maintenance, and things in the park. And we also work with them in our academic classes to be able to offer like real life experience for people to gain knowledge in the recreation field. And then also, as you all are probably aware, Richmond is right in the middle of Virginia, so we're really close to the beach, we're really close to the mountains. We have a lot of really cool things that we can do within a few hour drive. And so that gives us a lot of opportunities to be able to do some other cool, more far away activities. As I mentioned, this is like a community of leaders. So the vast majority of my time is spent training students to lead things. I work with three other full-time staff, and they also train people to lead programs in a variety of different things. And so our student outdoor leadership experience, or SOUL, is kind of like our flagship training program. That's a semester-long course that we teach once or twice a year, depending on how many trip leaders we need. And that's how we get folks ready to lead programs in the outdoors. Right now, we're offering it as an academic class, and so Christina is teaching that for credit. Um, and some of the things we do on these, it's a cohort model where we spend three or four, probably about 4 weekends a semester in the field, developing technical skills, as well as personal interpersonal skills on how to manage groups, how to go whitewater rafting, how to go rock climbing, but also how to get those people to go outside and come back with all their fingers and toes at the end of the day. Um, After that training, students then are able to lead trips. And so these are some of the trips that we offer. These are our weekly activities. So these are programs that we offer throughout the week. They're free for students to sign up for. We go out usually around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're back on campus by like 6 or 7 o'clock in the afternoon. We do whitewater rafting. We have events like the No Man's Land Film Festival, stand-up paddleboarding, mountain biking, whitewater kayaking. Again, these are all like free programs that our students lead each week. And then we also do our weekend trips, and these weekend trips are longer, far away trips, like to West Virginia, to the Blue Ridge Mountains, to the coast, places like that. And so we do a lot of caving, sea kayaking, whitewater rafting, backpacking. These are pay-to-play trips, so students do have to pay for these programs, and that covers the cost of food, equipment, transportation. We provide all of those things, so that hopefully all you really need to bring is like the clothes on your back and maybe a bag lunch. And then we also do very far-flung programs all over the world. These are some examples of different places that we've led trips in the past, from backpacking trips in Peru and Patagonia and Iceland, to rafting in Mexico and other far-off locations. These are our more destination-based, kind of like our sexy, like photos that you put on the front cover of the website. And we tend to offer these a couple times a year over longer breaks, whether that's winter break or spring break or summer break. We also have a climbing wall. So has anyone been to the climbing wall at the Cary Street Gym? Yeah, if you go in the Cary Street Gym, it's the big brightly colored climbing wall. We actually just had it renovated this past year, so it's brand new. It's a really cool facility, and we're able to offer a lot more climbing there. This is totally free for students to utilize. So, like, if you can get into the gym, you can climb at the wall for free. We give you shoes, we give you a harness, we'll teach you a class on how to belay, and we'll even provide someone to belay for you. Um, we have a ton of different programs there. We do competitions, we do clinics and classes. The one cool thing about our new wall is that it's really set up for teaching. So we do a lot of like gym to crag type stuff where you can come to the climbing wall, learn the basics, and then transition to climbing outside. And we have a whole list of trips that we actually offer outdoor climbing for as well. And that gets us to our leadership certificate. And this is in coordination with SLSS. And so this is a certificate, which is a little bit different than like a minor. It's generally fewer requirements. It's 4 classes. And oftentimes our classes are very project based and really hands-on. So all of our classes are going to have some sort of outdoor component or some sort of interaction with a nonprofit or local entity to do some hands-on work, right? The classes that make up that certificate are outdoor leadership, outdoor programming, event management, outdoor team building and facilitation, and then our wilderness first responder. And I'm going to go through each one of those. You. So these are kind of the way the courses lay out. We also have some independent studies and special topics classes that we do offer pretty regularly. And we are able to sub in some other classes. So, for example, when we went to Mexico on Paddle de Usumacinta, That was an expedition planning class, and so some students were able to actually take that class as part of the certificate, and I subbed out outdoor leadership for that. So that'd be an example of how an independent study or a special topics class could apply. Outdoor leadership is kind of the foundational course. It's a 260 class. Most of the folks who are in that class tend to be like sophomore, juniors. And this is kind of going to be more of an overview of outdoor leadership, like the historical context, meaning of leadership, different sectors of outdoor recreation economy, looking at how we can apply both technical and interpersonal skills to trip leading, and kind of foundational things that go along with that. As part of the course, you get to actually go on a couple trips throughout the semester, and reflect on some of the things we talked about in class and how that applies to field-based activities, as well as we do a few outdoor programs, outdoor activities in class itself. The programming class, this is like how to put on outdoor events and activities for an organization. And so we actually partner with some nonprofits in town to offer several different events. This is usually in the spring, so we do it around Earth Day weekend. And so we've had a film festival. We work with James River Outdoor Coalition to put on a used gear swap. We work with Boys to Men Club to offer a paddle in your park to get people out on the river and actually paddling in the river. And so all of these events are planned by the students in the class, and then we spend a weekend over Earth Day weekend actually out doing that activity. So the students plan and lead that themselves. And I honestly just kind of sit back and like make sure everything is communicated well between all of the different organizations. Our team building class has historically been had some high ropes course involvement with it. We have used a ropes course over at U of R in the past, and that was how we built the class out. We're changing that around a little this semester. We're going to kind of take a more of a field-based approach to team building facilitation, and so we'll be doing some outdoor trips and thinking about how like groups are developed in the outdoors, and how we can facilitate that group development actually with the class itself. So everyone who is in the class is kind of going to be the group that we are facilitating, and we're going to like work on how we can like develop our own interpersonal and intrapersonal relationships in the field.
And that's something that, we just don't, we're discovering when we're teaching STEM, that a lot of scientists, they don't have background in kind of like managing groups in the field. And in an area that we're even trying to like, you could say, transform STEM education, around the country by recognizing that, if we were to get, folks over in, the outdoor programs like Joey to collaborate and teach some of the science nerds, like this is how you manage a group in the field, that we'd actually have a lot better outcomes. And really, I mean, think about it's not just in the field, like what, after seeing like Joey teach the outdoor leader, the no-dose leadership thing on a field course, I was like, hey, well, that doesn't have to only be in the field course. Let's bring this activity into the classroom. Well, kind of the classroom, into the gym.
Yeah.
So that's just an example of how we're having this kind of cross-pollination between science and like if you're going to be a team leader for, a scientific group or a natural resource management group in in a natural setting, maybe you're in the backcountry of Alaska, or maybe you're just in, southwestern Virginia, you're going to have to manage a team. And so how do you do that? And where do you learn how to do that? You're not going to learn how to do that in a science class. You're going to learn how to do it with Joey.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say that we have a lot of students working in the program. The vast majority of them do not work in any outdoor related field when they get done. But I think a lot of the skills that they learn either in the
Hmm.
certificate or as trip leaders or even just as participation on trips, like those skills are transferable to a variety of fields. And I know a lot of
Hmm.
former trip leaders that have worked here who have done really well when they've gotten out of school working in engineering fields or finance fields. And it's because I think they've gained a lot of those um, they're able to lead, they're able to communicate effectively, they're able to manage conflict really well, and that's a skill set that they have hands-on experience with, right? They're not just talking about it from a class they took, but they're like, I actually
Yeah.
was on a 5-day backpacking trip and I had to manage a group, and it
Yeah.
rained hard and people were sad, and like we we
Yeah.
we dealt with it, right? And so these skills may not be something you're going to use in the future. Well, I shouldn't say the outdoor skills may not be something that you're planning on using in your career in the future, but the leadership skills and
Yeah.
the group management skills can be really valuable.
And if you like Google AI proof skills, like the kinds of things that pop up on these, there's billion lists. Like, well, what kind of skills should I get, to future proof my job against AI? Soft skills, people skills is always on the top of that list. So learning how to
Yeah.
do this and having it on your resume and your credentials is a great thing. So it's very complementary to whatever it is you might be pursuing, even if, as
Yeah.
Joey said, it's not your focus.
Yeah. And, again, I think that's why the certificate works really well for a lot of folks is that they can have a business or engineering or
Yeah.
environmental studies major, and the leadership certificate is a complement to that.
Yeah.
So just kind of wrapping up, we have our wilderness first responder. This is a really great course. It's kind of the gold standard for people who are working in the outdoor field. We're fortunate to be able to have Christina teach this course in-house. So you get to take a woofer over the course of a semester. And this is something that a lot of people are looking for in field-based careers in the outdoors. And then lastly, we have our special topics classes. I teach a swiftwater safety class, this part of the river leadership certificate. But we also have lots of other folks who take that class. We've done some international trips. Our student outdoor leadership experience, SOUL, is offered through for credit as a special topics class. And so we have a lot of other things we do throughout the year that could apply to the major. I'm the advisor for the certificate, so any of those courses that we're offering, you just communicate with me on how to maybe substitute a class in for a different one. I also teach wilderness policy fairly regularly. That's another class we substitute in from time to time. I'm actually teaching that this semester, and that's looking at how federal lands are managed in the United States and our idea of wilderness and how that kind of like ties into our notion of outdoor spaces and how that's changed maybe over time. So yeah, and then I guess like as James mentioned, we do hire a lot of students to work here. We have 41 staff that are all student employees. We have 12 managers, 21 trip leaders. These are all positions that are held by students, and this is how the program functions. And so, if you're interested in potentially working for us, definitely reach out. We have lots of employment opportunities each year. We definitely hire a lot of folks through Soul and through the climbing wall to work at the OAP. If you're interested in any of the stuff I just talked about, you can go to the OAP website. It's on. We're part of RecWell, so you would just look on the RecWell website, or you just type in VCU OAP. It lists all the stuff we have there, including all of our trips and activities for this semester. So you can sign up there. You can also follow any of these to either information, social media, signing up for programs, etc. So
Joey, can you share the slides with me? I can post them on Canvas. Does
yeah,
that
for
work?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome.
So that's what I got for you. Anybody have any questions?
Let me, because I think that the river stuff is very complimentary. So let me dive through the river stuff and just plow, get through
Yeah,
that, and then maybe we'll do questions at the end.
sounds great.
All right. So if you stop sharing, I'll start sharing. All right. Let's see. Boom. All right. Joey, can you see the river study slide? Got it. Okay. So complementary to this is the River Studies and Leadership Certificate Program. One important distinction between Joey's program, the Outdoor Leadership Certificate, is that is a VCU program. It shows up on your transcript. This is actually a certificate that is awarded by a professional society. So it's an outside entity that VCU collaborates with to offer this. And there are some benefits to that because it directly connects you to essentially the professionals out there in the world that are working on rivers. Um, uh, uh, and there's there's a particular set of courses kind of like the Outdoor Leadership Certificate, but it's administered a slightly different way. So these are just some great shots from, the Rio Grande class, the James River classes, the Usumacinta class, Swiftwater safety class that we've offered through times. And so at the core of this certificate is an environmental recognition that societies depend on rivers in a lot of different ways. And so our well-being as human societies rely on fresh water. They rely on rivers. And I'm not going to take a lot of time to show this, but for those of you who are living in Richmond, I think this was 2024 winter where the flood took out our power, our water pumping stations. Like even here in Richmond, there was a period where the water that you drink that comes from the James River was you did not have access to. This is just an example of right here in Richmond of how vital, you know, this is. At the same time that we depend on rivers, rivers are super complex ecosystems. They depend on geology, they depend on climate. That changes the geomorphology, the fluvial geomorphology of the river. And that's what that creates the habitats that the organisms depend on. So trying to understand and manage rivers for us, but also for the biodiversity that relies on them is really tricky and it's highly interdisciplinary. You can't just be a biologist. You can't just be a hydrologist. You can't just be a climatologist. All of these things work together to understand how rivers function. So they're highly complex. We rely on them, but they're also in crisis. And this is just one example of how rivers are in crisis. So, I'll tell you a little bit about my age here. I was born in 1969. I'm 56 years old. This is my lifetime in this graph. Things were not good in 1969. In fact, you could even say that in 1969, things were almost, that was just when we brought on the Clean Water Act. I mean, rivers were already in crisis. So don't think about this starting point as a good place. This starting point was already a bad place. But then look what's happened to based on the Living Planet Index here, biodiversity in freshwater systems in my lifetime. So on my watch, we've lost 84% of life in rivers. So that is not good, especially since we were already starting from not a good spot. So rivers are in crisis. We rely on rivers. Rivers are complex. So what we need, and this is just another example of how rivers are in crisis. For those of you who live in Richmond, you might know about the pipeline sewage leaks. And here, this is right in downtown Richmond. And even in this day and age, we have combined sewer overflow that is not being addressed and polluting the river right here in town, where just upstream we get our drinking water from. So they are in crisis. So they're in crisis for lots of different reasons. They're in crisis all over the world. Even though we have some legislation which helps protect rivers like NEPA and the Clean Water Act and the Endangered Species Act and the Safe Drinking Water Act. These are things that you may be learning about in 101 with Dan right now. But these things are all currently, right now, in this moment, under attack like never before. So how do we protect rivers? We need to train the next generation of river stewards. And here at VCU, we think that an integral part of training the river stewards, like the caretakers, the managers, the scientists, the advocates for freshwater and river systems, it depends on getting people familiar with rivers. You have to, like if we take you out and you experience a river, we feel confident that will change your outlook towards rivers. And we think that that's an important part of catalyzing the spark to create the next generation of river conservators. But teaching, so we think field studies are vital to doing this. But in fact, it's actually pretty tricky to do that. There are lots of challenges to doing field courses. And that's why in order to be successful, we need collaborations like Joey's group and the scientists coming together to address these kinds of challenges so that we can deliver field courses that are safe and effective and offer powerful learning outcomes that we hope, if we do it well, will ignite you into a career thinking like, wow, rivers, river leadership, river careers. This is where my passion lies. And so we feel that field courses are vital to that, but we need a really collaborative approach to bring those kinds of courses. So field courses are also in crisis. Rivers are in crisis. Field courses are in crisis. And here at VCU, we're trying to address that through this, approach of scholarship, education, and stewardship being the sort of way that we need to build capacity to create the freshwater stewards of tomorrow. And you might not have known this when you signed up to VCU, but you are at one of the national leading centers for river field education. Through a variety of federally funded programs, we are leading the nation in this kind of admittedly, it's a fairly specific niche, but we are leading the nation in this kind of education. It's partly because we've got great faculty. It's partly because we've got great resources like the James River in our backyard and the Rice River Center downstream of us in Charles City County. And it's partly because we've got great partnerships. Obviously, OAP is Joey, but I lead the River Field Studies Network, which is a national network of river professors, where we're trying to train professors to be better able to lead field courses. Professor Dan McGarvey is the leader of Emerge, which is a program trying to funnel a more diverse representation of Americans into freshwater careers. And then the last one, the River Studies and Leadership Certificate, which is what I'm going to talk to you about now. So this is a certificate program that we offer in collaboration with the River Management Society. That's our mothership. They are a national nonprofit whose mission is to support, protect, and manage North American rivers. And they do so by hosting training workshops, doing the certificate program, and empowering, both enthusiasts and professionals to sort of protect rivers. There are 15 schools around the country that offer this program. VCU was the first east of the Mississippi. It has its origin in the Western United States, but we've helped also grow some sister schools here in the East, like West Virginia, University of West Virginia. West Virginia University is one. University of Tennessee, Chattanooga is another. So we've helped bring some of these programs to the East through our leadership. But we are the biggest in the country. So here you can see some of the other programs around the country, which we partner with. You can see that it's a fairly small program. We're just at the 10-year mark. There's been about 60 certificates awarded. About 40 of them are from VCU. So as I said, we are a national leader in this regard. Here's the nuts and bolts of it. You've got 4 required courses. You have to take something in GIS. You have to take something that is river science, like water. You have to take something that is river policy, like James River Sustainable Societies. And then you have to take a swiftwater rescue class like Joey offers, or get some experience in that. So if you are an environmental studies major, you are already required to take cartography. Check. You are already required to take water. Check. You can choose to take the online asynchronous James River Sustainability course, which is also the gateway to the Sustainability Certificate program. Very easy to take, no prereqs required. And Joey just highlighted that he teaches Swiftwater in the spring, so that's available. So those are the core courses. Then you have to focus in an area of emphasis. Either you want to go down the science path, the policy path, or the recreation path. So if you choose recreation, go back to Joey's presentation immediately before mine. That's all the rec stuff. But if you're doing science, you take 2 more science classes. If you're doing policy, you take 2 more policy classes. So it's a total of 6 classes, those 4 core that everybody has to, I mean, you can choose different classes to check those boxes, but you're already going to get a bunch of them anyway. And then you specialize in science, policy, or recreation, take 2 more classes. Then you have to do some sort of a professional experience. It can be a lot of different ways to skin that cat. It could be an internship, which you could take for credit if you want, or you could just do it. You could be a job, lots of different ways to do that. And then you have to share what you do for your professional experience. So after you do your professional experience, you have to write up a short article about it, or you have to come to the national meeting and present it. This is an example of some of the classes that, this was spring 2025. We haven't put the 2026 spring on the books yet, but water, cartography, intro to GIS, remote sensing, outdoor leadership. These are example classes that, apply towards the certificate. Here are some students, presenting at the national meeting. This is an example of fulfilling that final requirement of presenting. Here is an article that was written by a student. Ella Buckwater was one of our alumni. She had the cover article of the RMS Journal. That was how she didn't have a chance to come to the national meeting, and said she wrote an article about it that was on the cover of our magazine. And that was how she fulfilled it. You'll also see here Richie Dang, who is now USGS hydrologist, sharing about his experience. So that you can also sort of share your outcomes through the journal. There are some, I think, amazing classes that will also help you along this way. Footprints on the James is one of our classics. That's the origin story of all of this. I spoke to some of you, heard me talk about how Joey and I and other folks came together to teach this class for the first time just a little over 10 years ago. This is our love story class to the river in our backyard. How has the James River shaped us? How have we shaped the James River? It's usually a 3 to 5 week class. Maybe 1 or 2 days in the classroom. All the rest is traveling down the river and learning about it. It's going to be offered again in the coming summer. This is our trailer for that. I'll send these slides. We've also taught a scenic natural resource class. This is an amazing class where Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation comes to us and says, we have a river that we need to study to potentially be included in the state scenic river system. We go out and do it. Here you can see these are students in the canoes. We're working with Train Street 360, which is actually in this case doing a 360 street view of the river as we travel down. Um, this is the trailer for that class. But what I will say about this class is that the last time we did it, the segment that the student study was later taken up by the Virginia General Assembly. We watched it move through the General Assembly and it became a law in Virginia code. The section of river that we studied is now enshrined in the state scenic river system. The students who studied this changed Virginia law. They helped create a scenic river. We've been to the Idaho. We like adventure. We can't say no to an adventure. So in 2018, we took students out to the Salmon River and traveled down one of the most highly sought after recreational river sections rivers in the country. This is a video from that. Again, I don't have time to show you, but I'll share the slides. You should watch these videos. They're fun. That was a student-made video. We had a class on the Rio Grande. We traveled through Boquillas Canyon. We studied border issues as we're traveling through essentially the Grand Canyon of the Rio Grande. And many of the students experienced their first desert environment. And then as Joey highlighted, we've even taken this abroad. So we've even been to Mexico and traveled down rivers there. So that's another example. Oh, and then another one last year, we went to the Buffalo River. So those are some of the examples. What do you guys get out of it? You get experience, you get connection to this professional community, because that's one of the things that I think makes this different than the certificate program that's a VCU certificate. Because the people who made this certificate are the people out there in the world that want to hire you. And so there's this connection, this pipeline through the certificate program and the universities and the professors that are administering it into the workforce. And they support you by supporting you to come to the national meeting. They have a jobs board. They have a river career series. This was last week's seminar. Some of you might have, this was a choose your own adventure option. Some of you might have went. This was about GIS careers around rivers. Other things that we've also done film festivals in the past. You're able to participate in chapter trips. Some of you participated in a chapter trip this last Sunday. Like some of you were like, Sean was there. Or Sean wasn't there, but some others were there. The national board was in town of the river of this professional society. We took them down the river. We've got a chapter trip coming in Alabama in October. You get to go to the National Symposium. This is a table full of students working together with professionals. Katie Schmidt, who's up here in the front right, she is now the National Director for Dam Removal for American Rivers, and she is an alumni of the VCU certificate program. Others, I don't have time to go around this table, but others are also pursuing careers in freshwater science. These are examples of the jobs that are landed. It's administered through this learning management system. So if you're interested, you email me. I send you to the portal and you basically onboard yourself into the system and you sort of track your own progress as you go. So here you can see some of the students and you can see like this is where they're at in terms of their progression through this program. And this is just one of our programs here. So in terms of like, not all schools can do everything well. And that's true for VCU. Like if you want to like deep dive into geology, we only have a couple courses. But if you want to deep dive into rivers, you are in the right place. And so I invite you to flex in this space where VCU really excels in partnership with Joey's program by creating this powerful experiential courses, but also in partnership with this professional society, the River Management and River Management Society. So if you want to know more about that, I guess you all know where to find me. So we're at the top of the hour. Joey and I could probably stick around for a couple of minutes if anybody has questions that they are interested in asking. But otherwise, next week is in class. And now that we're going to take you on a new adventure. Next week's adventure is like, well, what if you want to study abroad? And so that's the focus of next week in-person class. Did I stop? I thought I stopped screen sharing. There we go. Okay, sorry. So next week in class, study abroad, guest experts. There are 2 students that are going to come and share their study abroad experiences. We also got global ed professional coming and talking about that. But Anybody have questions they'd like to ask Joey or I about these programs?
I was wondering if we wanted to get involved in this program, would it be better to talk to like our academic advisor or more so to y'all or just a combination of the three?
Academic advisors are always great resources, and so I encourage you to share all your dreams and hopes with them. But I mean, you're at the mothership right now. If you want to get into the outdoor leadership program, email Joey. And if you want to get into the river program, email me. Or, pull me aside in class because like basically if you talk to your advisors, they will point you to one of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I'm the advisor for the leadership certificate. So feel free to drop me a line. We can chat.
Cool, thank you.
Mhm.
Other questions? Y'all are hanging around as if you have questions because I mean, if you don't have questions, you can go.
Very
I
cool,
had a
thanks.
question, but it's
Bye.
Yeah,
for
jump it.
one of the assignment.
Oh, okay. If it's a question about assignment, I'll hang on and you can ask me about it in a minute. Yeah. Any other questions for Joey or me about the certificate? All right, cool. Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you,
Thanks,
Joey,
y'all.
and we'll see you on the river.
Yeah.
All right, somebody, I didn't see who it was, but I heard a voice in my ear that said, I have a question about an assignment.
Oh, sorry, that
Uh,
was um. So first, I emailed you like a while ago. I haven't had the time to see you in person, but about it was like the assignment a while ago. It was the life review assignment.
yeah.
I like tried to turn it in, but it didn't let me. So I was like, could I just email it to you, and it could still be accepted?
Well, generally we don't accept late stuff, but I can open that one back up and give you a chance to get back in on that because that was the very first assignment practically.
Yeah, I was trying. I don't know if you saw my email. But then the assignment, the one that was due last night,
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to email to see like what the make your own adventure because all the ones that you sent, I was in class or doing something during those, so I couldn't go to those. But I was like trying to see if it counted
Mm-hmm.
because I recently made a new club that kind of like goes towards my career goals. So I was like, does that count? And that's having a meeting.
Yeah. So for one, I mean, they're like, I don't know, 30 different things. I have a hard time believing that you were in class for every single one. So I just encourage you to look at the examples there because they're all over. Some of them are online, some are recorded, some of them are in person. So take a more careful look at some of those options. I just posted some more today. Um, but that said, is those are just examples. I mean, it's choose your own adventure. And so I'm totally on board with you saying like, actually, this is what I want to do. I want to go to this thing. And if it lines up with a career thing, that's great. So if you've started a club, that is awesome.
Hmm.
And that shows so much initiative and leadership. And that's all what this class is all about is taking advantage of making your own opportunities. So 100%, if you have formed a club and you have had a meeting, all you have to do is document that and turn that in. That would be great.
Okay. Yeah, the only reason I was in is because I'm taking 7 classes and then I have 3 jobs and then I have 3 clubs. So I'm always doing something.
Yeah, well, doing clubs is a choose your own adventure.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I wanted to ask.
Yep, sounds like you're in good shape.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Tori, you got a question for me, or you just Tori King? All right, I'm gonna assume you're not here. No questions.